So let's continue now with Serge Mazijn. Serge is director at Johnson & Johnson, and he was the driver behind the dengue hackathon that was organized last year at the Data Innovation Summit. It was a very successful hackathon. The winners will present this afternoon their solution. But first, Serge will explain us how he convinced his CEO to organize a hackathon.
Thank you, Nele. Wow, didn't think so many people would be interested in mosquitoes. Last year, I stood here rather clumsy, announcing a dengue hackathon. And we basically had nothing to start with. Why did we want to do that? Because basically dengue fever is the most important viral disease, vector-borne viral disease in the world. According to WHO, half of the world population is at risk. That means that your neighbor is at risk and you're not. So we started off by launching this campaign, calling upon ideas, calling upon data. We didn't have any data at all, and calling for the best talent to bring this all together and trying to, in an attempt to generate for ourselves as a company, new insights on dengue. As an example, we know that mosquitoes roughly fly 150 meters. So referring to the talk of Jan Sonk earlier today, if you can track the movement of people and the disease is carried by the people, you can also track the spread of disease. So once again, we started off with nothing. And we said, okay, what is going to be the success? Do we really want the best model out there? No, we had a very layered approach in determining what our success of this hackathon would going to be. We wanted to raise awareness on global public health. As a global public health department in Janssen Pharmaceutica, part of J&J, we are measured by a social return on investment, not by a financial return on investment. So we are measured by the impact that we generate on people, which was also referred to in one of the previous calls. Secondly, we want to raise awareness on dengue before the reasons I explained earlier. Thirdly, we wanted to put some use cases into the hackathon and see if we can explore the data and if we can get a solution or an idea to have these use cases solved. Well, quite to our surprise at the very end, or maybe not, we had in this Data for Good initiative, we had over 60 people attending the full 36 hours, from the very first minute till the very last minute. We had a broad diversity of people. We had young people, we had people who are still feeling young, like myself. We had women, we had men, we had PhD students, we had medical doctors, we had IT people, so a broad diversity of people. We even had an architect in the room, and we asked that person, an architect, why are you here? Well, I care about this is important for the world, I want to contribute. Okay. Then, a lot of companies, more than 10 companies jumped on this initiative and brought their assets into the mix. We set this up as an open IP thing where when you contribute something and you get everything back. So we didn't want to have the outcome protected for J&J. No, we did it really in the open, which is part of our mission for global public health. Some of these companies submitted data sets. Remember, we started off with having none. In the end, we had 51 data sets. Some about weather, about movement of people, about population density, about places where these mosquitoes occur, about places where people have the disease. And they were all integrated in 2 of the platforms of some of these companies. So the participants of the hackathon really could start with clean data sets and start modeling right away at the very first minute of their 36 hours. We got to learn these companies. One of these companies is located 2 villages down the road of Janssen Pharmaceutica. They were busy on dengue. They are research experts on dengue. We didn't know about them, and they didn't know about us doing research on dengue. So you get to learn a lot of companies, a lot of people, very broad, diverse talent, and also, and we are continuing doing that as a result of this hackathon. Companies were even willing to give us licenses for free and have teams on site of the hackathon participating and helping, supporting the teams during the hackathon. We needed to raise awareness on dengue. We typically don't know what dengue fever is, but it's kind of knocking at the door of Europe. And so we needed to raise awareness, and we used all sorts of mechanisms. We used the social media, we used internal communication, we used external communication. The team of Philip was very supportive and very bright in doing this. A website was set up, denguehack.org. It had 2,000 visitors. It had 6,000 views. One selfie was posted on LinkedIn. The selfie alone had more than 1,000 views. We had a reach on Twitter, with a potential reach of about 500,000 people. And days before the hackathon, it was a trending topic in the Data for Good category. So I think we very well succeeded with this initiative in raising awareness both on dengue, on global public health, but also on the importance of what data and the Data Innovation Hub can do for good. Now, we put some challenges out there to the teams, and basically we had 10 teams. And so therefore we had 10 pitches with ideas coming up. We had some ideas in the area of prediction modeling, trying to predict 4 weeks in advance if an outbreak would take place. That's fine, that's great, that's of use to us, because today we are continuing the work of this dengue hackathon, and we are going to continue to work on some of these models. We had a network graph analysis where one team tried to put together everybody who's busy doing something in the field of dengue research. So in the event that there was no outcome at all, we at least knew whom to reach out for. We had also a couple of teams analyzing social media. One team was very active in putting real-time monitoring onto risk zones. And then another team analyzed how a country like India reacted on the social media to a dengue outbreak and compared that to how Brazil, for example, reacted to an outbreak. And quite to our surprise, the reactions were different. There's a cultural difference in the reaction. Within our department, sometimes we go with one unified message to the world. And here we learned that that is not the case. So now we did some lessons learned, and what I think is important mentioning for you, if you want to do a hackathon, is, well, needless to say, data is key. Without data, you really can't do anything. In this particular field, it was kind of hard to get the data. It was really difficult. People worked weeks in advance to find data and put it together and clean it up and bring it together so that it was useful for the hackathon. The data for good positioning was really a tipping point, a trigger factor for so many people to participate. Also, putting it out in the open IP was also a key trigger for people to participate, because it was not, we put it in a black box that is stored at Janssen and we see nothing coming back. It was really for everybody. Case studies, you need to put the challenge out there, otherwise the teams are lost. So we had a layered approach of case studies. So we started off with something simple and then tried to do something more difficult and more difficult and more difficult. You need time. Don't think a hackathon is something that you start and you launch it and you put out the challenge to the team. We roughly had a couple of months in preparing it. What was very key to the success, and it was already mentioned by one of my colleague speakers earlier today, what's very key to the success is the diversity of people, of skills, of professions that you bring into the mix. As a company, typically you're kind of narrow-minded. We are a pharma company. We look into epidemiology, and that's the type of data that we're looking at. Here we were looking at use of mobile phones, tracking of mobile phones, constructions work, weather data, and so on. And that's something that we don't do. So bringing all of that together was really determining in the success of this hackathon. And then last but not least, don't expect that the audience, that the teams who are participating, that they have all the business knowledge. So you need to bring on people with, in this case, disease expertise or subject matter expertise. And also, you need to bring in people that really, in this type of hackathon, which was a data hackathon, you need to bring in people that have hands-on experience, that really can do some coding, that really can do some visualization of the outcomes. So, what did we get out of it? Well, as you said, as I said, we have the key influencer network. If we're stuck, we know where to go now. We had the data, 51 data sets, which we will continue to use. We have companies and contacts, and as a follow-up of the hackathon, we are now talking to all of these companies to see how we can further work on this type of research. We learned on this Twitter feed analysis the cultural difference, which was quite a surprise for us. We also found, for example, that one particular movie, Minecraft on Dengue, a game, well, that was to raise awareness in the endemic countries where dengue is present. There's a game where you walk in a building, you find a person who is bitten by some mosquitoes, go get a bottle and do this and do that, and that's how they kind of educate people on how to deal with if you catch dengue fever. We have the prediction models, which we're going to continue to explore. We have the platforms. We had the talent. One person that was very present, the project leader, Annelies of the hackathon, has got hired at Janssen, so that's also a nice takeaway. So all these reasons basically were very helpful in convincing my management, not the CEO of J&J, but my senior management in why we have done this and that it was a success. Maybe not to discredit the people who came up with the prediction models, but that alone is like just a small, tiny little bit in the grand scheme of things and all the things that we got out of it. So basically, if you ask me, will you do this again? Should we do this again? Well, my senior manager said, well done to the team of Philip. It was a nice rehearsal for the next one. Thank you very much.